We almost needed a second countdown there. Anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Friday. Another episode of Why Are We Bullish? We've got all new guests this week. I was mistaken. I thought P had been on before, but no, he's a virgin to the show, as are the rest of the panel. We'll see what we can do about that. So very excited to have everybody on. We are going to, again, enlighten you guys on what has us bullish. Also curious to hear what has you bullish. So keep them coming in the comments as we go. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen. So I defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
If you have not already, like, subscribe, share, all those things super important, and they do help get the show in front of more eyeballs. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in our guests, let's take a look at where we are in the market right now. This is the Bitbo.io dashboard. We're sitting at $29,240 per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 3,420 sats. Nice. 90 point. Wow, what are the odds? 90.69% of all Bitcoin have been mined. Nice. And in terms of fees, 19 sats per byte for the next block. So, maybe hold off on opening up some lightning channels. But if you wait a little bit, an hour, 1 sat per byte should do you. So again, continued volatility in the mempool, people dumping lots of transactions intermittently. So just keep an eye on it and, maybe set those fees lower if you need it. Use RBF, whatever tickles your fancy. Shout out to sponsors of the show, Shakepay.com. If you're in Canada, super easy way to stack sats. E-transfers in and out, no deposit or withdrawal fees. They cover the miner fee, all of that, thin spread. And if you use the link down below and sign up, purchase your first $100 worth of Bitcoin, they will give you $30 for free. You get the exact same deal when you refer friends and family, and then you can shake your phone every single day for free sats. They also have a sats-backed Visa card, so check them out. LEDN.io you can use for a ton of different services. For myself, this tends to be a tool if I'm in a pinch, that's like a cash flow issue, and I need dollars, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. Well, I can deposit here, get a loan of dollars within 24 hours, automatically approved. And as soon as I pay back those dollars, I get back the same amount of Bitcoin. So that's been a super useful thing for me. They also have savings accounts for Bitcoin USDC. They've got their B2X offering for you mega bulls. And for those of you in Canada right now in Ontario, but soon to be across Canada, they're getting into Bitcoin-backed mortgages. So that might be of use to, I think, a number of people. I'm sure a few of you, your interest is peaked, and they will be rolling out eventually to some select states in the US as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And link are down below, by the way. If you sign up with that link, again, $10 for free if you fund your account. Bitrefill.com, you can buy a ton of different gift cards with Bitcoin, of course, on-chain and Lightning, and you earn sats back as you shop. You can earn more sats back with their referral program, and they just rolled out bill payments in the US. So if you're in the US and you're looking to start living on that Bitcoin standard, here you go. There's a way to do it. Keystone, one of my favorite, most used hardware wallets, 100% air gapped. Never plug it into anything internet connected. It's all done via QR code. It just keeps the keys to your money safe and away from internet connection. Definitely upgrade to Bitcoin-only firmware, and awesome in a multi-sig for sure. Works great with Blue Wallet, Sparrow, Spectre, the gamut. Check it out. And get your seeds in solid steel, folks. Paper doesn't cut it. BillFodl over at privacypros.io has you covered. This is how I back up my important Bitcoin wallets. Fire damage, water damage. You don't want to have to deal with that crap. So with that, I'm going to stop my rambling. And I'm going to start bringing in my friends here. We got Bekka, we got P, we got Mark. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's do a quick round of intros, and we'll just let people know who you are and what you do. So, Bekka, you're up first. Let people know who you are, what you do.
Hi guys. Ben. Thanks for having me on. I'm Bekka, and yeah, I'm the head sandwich maker at the Meme Factory currently. And along with sandwiches, I'm making some memes, some silly posts, and I'm just out there trying to give the plebs a laugh, pretty much.
Awesome. Well, I've yet to experience a Bekka sandwich, but maybe one day I shall. Maybe we'll make one on this show. Who knows?
That's a great idea.
You are a show virgin, so we
Yes.
could fix that with a sandwich, I think. So let's keep the rotation going. Mark, let people know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, my name's Mark. I am director of marketing at Zebedee. Zebedee puts Bitcoin in games. So our sandwich it's like an open face sandwich it's like Bitcoin on games bread.
I love
That's the
how
sandwich
this is
I can
going
offer
already. We've already started off strong here. I'm enjoying this. Zebedee is awesome. I've got to say, I played around with it. You guys, I did a video on lightning addresses using your wallet. I've done playing around with a bunch of, there's like an in-browser wallet that you can load and link it with your mobile and everything. Pretty useful, pretty awesome. So cheers to you guys for what you're building. And
cheers to you.
That, well, yeah, cheers, man. And I like that you're focusing niche too, like focusing in on a specific market that could find use in Bitcoin. So maybe we'll end up chatting about that in a bit. But yeah, awesome. And P, good to see you again. How are you?
Doing great. I'm super excited to be here. I'm the head of programming at Bitcoin Magazine. Just coming off the high of Bitcoin 2022, and by high I mean utter exhaustion. I just fell into my bed and went into a coma for about a month. But yeah, I focus on building out the programming, as my title might suggest, for Bitcoin Magazine. That's who I am.
I love it. Well, I'm glad to have you here, man. And it was cool to see you very briefly that first day. I like that you guys had little scooters to rip around on because the venue was so massive. I didn't realize how huge it would be, but you very much needed them. Just hoofing it across that venue was something else. So glad to have you all. Welcome to the show. Anybody watching that is unfamiliar, this is Why Are We Bullish? Very simple premise here. Effectively, somebody's going to give a reason why they're bullish. After they give that reason, we're all going to riff on that reason together. And then once we're through with that topic, we're going to rotate. So we go by the 3 R's. Really simple. Reason, riff, and rotate. So I'm going to get us started today. And fitting that you spoke last, P, because this has to do with an article from Bitcoin Magazine that dropped today. So there's 2 reasons kind of baked in here as to why I'm bullish on this particular article. And I'm going to talk about the reasons, but I'm also going to just kind of go through the article itself so that people can be informed. So I'll be brief with the reason and then get to the meat of the article. So there's a piece from Shinobi, or at Brian Trolls on Twitter, and he was talking about the problems with Bitcoin Magazine's Arculus partnership. So those unfamiliar, there was a hardware wallet that basically did a sponsorship with the event, and gave a bunch of hardware wallets to everybody that attended. Awesome. People get to play with new hardware and experiment and learn how to use stuff. Now, there's 2 reasons why I'm bullish here, and then we'll get into the article. The number 1 reason is the continued adversarial and don't trust verify nature of Bitcoiners, in that they scrutinize everything to ensure that the way it's being presented is factual. Hopefully, that's the ethos that we strive for anyways. It's not always true, but it's something ingrained, especially in OG Bitcoiners, where it's like, I want to get to the meat of this. I want to actually check if certain claims are true. I want to make sure that this is as trustless as possible, and so on and so forth. Now, the other reason that I'm bullish is that Bitcoin Magazine published this, is that it was an adversarial take and kind of a scrutiny of one of the advertisers, or rather one of the partnerships that happened with the event. And rather than saying, no, we're not gonna publish this, it was actually indeed published on Bitcoin Magazine, criticizing one of the sponsors of Bitcoin Magazine's event. And so I thought that was cool in that it kind of shows that nobody is beyond scrutiny, and it also shows a willingness to have that conversation, which I think is important. You know, rather than dismissing it and pushing it out and saying, no, we're not going to talk about this. This is just bullshit. No, it's okay. Well, here, this is an op-ed from somebody that is writing for this magazine, scrutinizing a partnership that happened with this magazine. So I think that, you know, in and of itself, outside of the topics in there, was big of the people at Bitcoin Magazine to say, yeah, sure, let's publish this. So I thought that was awesome. Now, in terms of the don't trust, verify nature of Bitcoiners in and around hardware, in and around wallets and everything, I thought this was a very well put together piece, because it kind of looks at the realities. So one of the concessions that Shinobi makes in this article is, you know, we're moving towards a place where it's getting more and more difficult for everybody to not trust, but rather verify for every aspect of Bitcoin. Like, if we're being realistic, there's going to be some degree of trust in people with maybe more technical know-how, or others that have vetted certain things to have gone and done the research that maybe some people are not capable of, or just straight up don't have time for, because everybody's got lives. So that was one of the first concessions that was made here. But he goes into some of the points about the Arculus, which is like a credit card sized NFC type hardware wallet, and kind of talks about, one, it was presented as a more secure than all other options on the market hardware wallet, like through Arculus's marketing, presented as a more secure option than everything else on the market through some of their materials. And in that presentation, he effectively kind of tears apart, one, it's not open source. So even if you wanted to, you cannot verify any of those claims. Two, because the card itself does not have a screen, in order to actually generate that seed and see it, it necessarily has to be displayed on your device, on your phone, which is connected to the internet, and then re-entered to verify via the keyboard app on your phone, in which case both of those actions very much compromise the entire point of having a hardware device, in that now your seed at some point has existed on an internet connected device, which is a kind of a no-no. You want it to be created and kept offline at all times. It goes into some other kind of nitty gritty stuff. A lot of the stuff about, he had a few points here. He wanted to know if the device verifies that the change address created is actually an address that belongs to the seed. He wanted to verify that any change address from the multi-sig is composed of the right keys and not a malicious address where somebody else might have a couple keys. Wanted to confirm that the device is capable of storing other XPubs used in a multi-sig wallet to be able to perform the above check, and safety checks to make sure the appropriate key is being used to sign a transaction. For instance, there's been attacks that could trick a wallet into signing a transaction it thinks is for Bitcoin Cash with Bitcoin keys. So a number of things he asked, and he actually reached out to Arculus and said, hey, would you like to comment on this? However, their response was a non-answer to any of those finer points, and kind of a rehash of their marketing, saying basically like, hey, there's 3 factors here. You've got a PIN, you've got biometrics, and then you've got the actual key card, and you need all these 3 things. But it doesn't address the inability to check any of the above. It doesn't address the inability to generate the seed fully offline. So all of these were kind of overlooked and just presented with, here's our marketing shtick. He also went into some of the stuff like what he would consider to be dishonest marketing. So like here it shows Arculus versus other cold storage, and it has a few tick boxes: ease of use, superior security, no charge required, and 3-factor authentication. Basically check marks all for the Arculus and X's for all of the other cold storage devices, which in and of itself, I would argue is entirely not true. First of all, not superior security, given what we just discussed. The ease of use is arguable. The no charge required. Well, I mean, he mentions here the original Trezor and Ledger are plug-in only, so you don't need to charge the device. So, like, what does that accomplish here? And then 3-factor authentication. Again, he goes through a whole scenario where all of the, like, a number of those factors could be effectively hacked, given that you're working through a hackable or a device that could have malicious third-party software on it. So he makes a lot of good points regarding kind of the marketing of the device. He kind of rips it apart. And the one thing that really irked me, unfortunately, was their tweet where they took Econo Alchemist, and he basically did probably one of the most secure setups that you could, generating a seed offline with dice via a cold card that's air gapped and puts it in steel and all of this stuff. And they basically retweeted that Bitcoin Magazine article, which was excellent, and then said, hey, we've simplified the 9 or so steps outlined by Bitcoin Magazine to set up your cold card into one simple, easy to follow guide. Purchase an Arculus card. Questions? And I think that's kind of shitty. I think that's kind of shitty because in no way is the setup that they've just told you anywhere near as secure as what Econo Alchemist outlined in his excellent article here. So all in all, I know this is like a negative Nancy kind of article, but what makes me bullish is that somebody had the wherewithal to go through all of these claims and fact check them and actually hold feet to the fire and say, hey, this is untrue. And also at the same time, journalistic integrity to reach out to them for comment and clarification on all of these things. And then secondly, that Bitcoin Magazine still published it despite the fact that it was a criticism of that particular engagement. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I know it was a bit of a rant here, but I thought it was a very interesting article, very well done. And I hope that everybody watching, again, has the ethos of don't trust, verify at least as much as possible. So I'm going to open it up to everybody in the call to comment, question. Like, did anybody try out this device themselves? I didn't get one of my hands on one, but I'm just curious. Thoughts here?
I mean, you should. I feel like you should go first.
No, I was gonna give a moment for other people to jump in. I mean, yeah, look, how do I say this delicately? The Arculus wallet and their advertising campaign is bullshit. Basically,
that was delicate.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Toxic, love it.
No. I mean, so one of the things that, to your point, that I love about working at Bitcoin Magazine is that these types of discussions are totally out in the open, and I think it's important to, like, for Bitcoin Magazine, we had a lot of internal discussions. I definitely was like, no way, like, this is not a good idea. But there were really good points made of like, wait, this could be reasonable. There were plans to put like a big warning on it. Like, a lot of that fell through. But I will say, like, internally, there was a lot of effort put into like giving them really clear feedback. And then, it seemed like that was going in a positive direction. And then it didn't seem like a lot of it materialized. And so I think that it is still useful to give people hardware wallets, which they can like test out, as long as the expectations are very, very, very clear that are like, one should never accept a free hardware wallet you get at a conference. Like, who the fuck knows who has touched this device before you get it? Like, view this as like a little vial of Ebola and do whatever you want. There were hilarious videos of like people like, you know, like, here, let me set up an Oculus wallet, and like taking it and then like pulling it out of the box and like turning left and dropping it into the trash. It's like, yep, exactly.
The comment section agrees.
Yeah, and I think it really does represent a missed opportunity. I will say also, like, you know, I had I'm blanking on his name, but the CTO in a panel with NVK and a few others, and he was great. Like, I had a conversation with him beforehand. Like, he showed up like genuinely. He contributed a lot to the conversation, and it is super disappointing to see them engaging in these like advertising campaigns like the one you just mentioned. There was another one. There were like some like super cringy ones with like BitBoy crypto, like, you know, like, bro, get your crypto on this shit. And but I think that as an organization, there was honestly like a ton of effort put into, and it initially seemed like it was going to happen, working with them to make this a good thing.
So I want to give you an example of how this could, if they take the criticism well, of how this could turn to a good thing for them. So a few years back, maybe 3 years back, I got this hardware wallet. You know, it's when I would still just take, like, when people were like, can we send you a thing and you do a video on it? And I would just literally say yes to everything because I was excited about and then I ended up with like just mountains of trash, like hardware wallets that I was like, oh, these are all so bad. And so I got one that seemed like pretty robust. I was like, okay, this is cool. And so they had, like, well before it was commonplace, they had like steel, like seed plate backup type thing, kind of BillFodl type stuff. But then beyond that, they had this like capsule that was like solid steel, like insulated steel, that you would slide the hardware wallet and the battery into separately and then close it. And it was fireproof and waterproof. And then you would put that inside of a safe to like protect. It was like next level, like intense. And so I went through, and like the device itself was pretty robust. It was like metal, had like a fingerprint scanner. It had like all of these different mechanisms that made it.
There's so many things.
Yeah, like the
fingerprint scanner.
Yeah. Like it was easy to use. I will say it had like a lot of different things that, you know, from a physical standpoint, if you're super paranoid about things happening, then you'd be like, okay, this is pretty robust. But in the end, when I got down to it, it wasn't open source. And so I was like, if you are this paranoid about shit going bad with your hardware, why in the fuck would you not take that extra leap to say, is this open source? And so I said that in the review of the thing. I did do a video on it, and I was like, this thing's cool, works well, but like, even though I myself can't audit the code, neither can anybody else. And I was that like a sounded like a don't buy. So in the end, I put up the video. I got a very nice message from the person behind the device and said, hey, like, we watched your video. We actually quite appreciate that. And we're now working to make it open source, which they then did. Formerly was known as Kobo Vault, now the Keystone. So I basically, like, I went through the videos, like, it works great, but like, don't fucking get it, because there's no point if you're this paranoid and you're not paranoid about this. And they took it to heart, and they changed their stance. And then they went as far as to make Bitcoin only firmware because of that attack vector, which I believe I mentioned in the video as well. So they took all that criticism and they literally built around that. And so if Oculus was to do the same thing, to look at some of the criticisms here and say, like, hey, maybe you're right. Like, this is not the best way to go about things. And maybe we need to advertise more clearly. Maybe we need to rethink some of the inner workings of the app. Maybe we need to rethink a number of things. Then I think that would be okay. Because like, let's be real, we've got NVK with CoinKite, and they're creating something called the Tap Signer, which is effectively going to be the same functionality as the Arculus, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of, yes, it's open source, but like it's an NFC thing to tap and approve transactions, which would have to go through your phone. So there is an attack vector there in terms of probably having to generate seeds and stuff like that. I haven't played with one yet, so this is speculation. But if it's advertised and presented as, which I've seen from NVK is, hey, some people will scrutinize this. If this is not for you, then you should probably get the cold card. And same thing with the NFC functionality on the cold card. That's the Mark IV that just came out. He's like, some people are going to fucking hate this. It's going to be off by default. You can turn it on. And if you don't want it to even function whatsoever, there's a little thing that you can scrape that kills the connection for the NFC permanently. So I think that approach is a better one. And hopefully Arculus will consider that and go, all right, well, correct. And maybe next year they'll be coming down the line saying, hey, check it out. We've got something new in the bag and it's vastly improved based on feedback. I hope, but maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say my impression of them has been that their intentions are good, but yeah, until these things actually materialize, until the code base is open source, until they have these types of warnings, it's like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. Mark or Bekka, do you have any thoughts on like the topic at hand, whether it be specifically on the hardware or just like the general, like, hey, it's great that we're coming at this, or yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's good that there's, people out there in the community, digging deeper, trying to verify everything. Cause like, there's so much like marketing always just like over top of everything that really does catch, the normies or people that are just getting into it, also not just Bitcoin only focused, but like shitcoiners too. They see something flashing. They don't really think, oh, I don't think it matters that it's like not FOSS or open source, and marketing looks good. It's shiny. Yeah, I'll put a little bit on it and test it out. And then you kind of dig a little, or you see an article out there that kind of criticizes it. And, hopefully that would make people kind of look into it a little bit more. So, yeah.
Mark, how about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, as someone in marketing, I mean, this is the type of thing that gives marketing a bad name, which you just like hate to see. I mean, I remember seeing Arculus last year sometime, coming across it. It was a non-starter for half the reasons you cited. I was like, this is not going to be my hardware wallet. I think people in the Bitcoin community are constantly aware of the fact that we're not dealing with like $20 lunch money. This is potentially life savings. It's a whole different criteria set when you're dealing with that, even given that we want to improve the UX. And I can appreciate that's what Arculus is about. But anyway, I think there was disingenuous marketing. But look, I mean, I try not to criticize too much, but at the same time, I totally, I never would have picked this article as something to make me feel bullish, but you describing it made me feel super bullish, because I realized, and I think I underappreciate how people in this corner of the internet or culture are attracted to Bitcoin for a certain set of properties it has. And it has these kind of anti-fragile properties, right? It likes to be attacked. It wants to be attacked. And it's interesting that the culture around it starts to embrace not even just adversarial thinking, which is like, what will my opponent do and how can I get ahead of it, but welcoming and encouraging criticism, encouraging attack, because we understand that that's how you get better. That's how you improve. That's how you expose vulnerabilities, and that people are starting to take on those same qualities that the underlying base chain kind of has. And that's what we appreciate about it. So you're kind of right. The fact that Bitcoin Magazine published it, net, I feel like, yeah, I think this probably is a good reason to feel bullish. I mean, fair play.
Yeah. And speaking of taking criticism, I'll pull one up right now. None your business. Make your own seed plate. Nobody needs to buy a piece of steel for $50 to $75. I mean, if you can make one, then yeah, fuck them. You don't need to buy a BillFodl. I don't have the greatest things to make my own seed plate, but at the same time, if you can make your own, if you can make your own seed plate, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, because all you need is to put you just need something to transcribe it to. And there's lots of options out there, right? Like BillFodl isn't the only one. I like it. I use it. But at the same time, there's tons of options and you can make your own. I've seen people take washers and like get like lettered stamps and a mallet and just like, there you go. Yeah.
There,
exactly.
I have it. This is how I made my seed place. I just ordered this off of Amazon and then at Home Depot, like whatever, they were $6-7, and then just throw your seed on there.
That's
like,
fucking awesome.
So simple.
That's
if I
awesome.
can do it, like anyone can do it.
Yeah, 100%. And so like if you want to get a fucking mallet and some washers and those, I've never seen like where you get those like letter stamps. Can I see those?
Yeah, hold on, let me take it out. It's quite heavy. Yeah, it was great. So it's 36 pieces. Yeah, number and letter stamping set.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
super
then
cool.
you just
Oh,
they have the
of
number
course
on it. There we go. Nice. Yeah, and then you just
people I have
stamp it
on my
right onto
show
the seed plate.
would have fucking stamps and mallets.
Yeah, I'll raise you one. You can buy titanium plates on Amazon, and I spent way too much time buying. It's like $15 for like a 1 foot by 1 foot titanium plate, and then like cutting them into these little like blanks, and then like whenever I meet anyone, I'm like, here, you need a seed plate. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, here's some stamps, let's do it, let's go. No, you can't show me. And they're like, but am I getting the words right? I'm like, I don't care, figure it out. And then they hammer it, and then I give them a little thing, and they're good to go. So you hang out with me and you want a little titanium seed plate,
Mine look a little like that too. This clangy thing. Anyway, I don't want to talk
I
about
love Bitcoin.
my setup. I'm getting a little self-conscious about
I
it.
love that
Steal
they
that
got
idea
brought
from
up, and everybody's like, "Look, I've got these pieces of steel that I cut myself."
Yeah. Look, did I also
Mallets and
blowtorch them
stamps.
to make sure, in terms of the temperature resistance? Maybe.
That's great. Well, that's fantastic. Yes, absolutely. And to Nunez's business point, you can 100%, and it's all personal preference. Like if you want to build it yourself, then do it. And like that's kind of the ethos of something like Seed Signer, right? Like obviously, I've got sponsor on the show, Keystone, but at the same time, there's the Seed Signer, which you can literally build a Bitcoin signing device from run-of-the-mill parts that you put together. And adversarially thinking, it's okay. Well, you would be sourcing the parts yourself. Nobody would ever know what you're using them for. You can then create seed phrases from that with entropy, if you so choose, and you can then utilize those however you see fit. I just did a video on the Seed Signer. I think it's fucking amazing, and it's just it depends kind of where you're at and what level you're at and just again personal preference. The important part here as to the topic at hand is that it's transparent and it's not marketed in a way that is malicious or not malicious, but even just like mildly dishonest. I think that's kind of important here, and that's where especially OG Bitcoiners will come through and be like, what did you say? Let's clarify that. Maybe in less polite terms, but regardless. So I'm going to wrap this topic up. I just thought it was great to see a well thought and put together article that had some valid criticisms that will hopefully result in changes for the better. So I'll leave that there. I guess thank you for everybody in the audience that's dropping their comments and everything. And we're going to rotate now. So up next on my screen, I am seeing Bekka. So Bekka, you're going to be up next. You're like, fuck.
What? I'm first. Okay, hold on. My sandwiches aren't ready yet. I'm so scared.
I'm sure they're
You guys.
So what has you bullish? What are you excited about?
Okay, what has me bullish? Obviously, Clown World has me bullish. The memes that come out of Clown World have me so bullish because it's just like it's just writing itself. Like some headlines, you see it and it's just like this meme instantly pops up. So for example, like yesterday, poor Elon and Tesla getting kicked out of the ESG rating basket on, the scam market there on Wall Street. Like it's like, what? Okay, well, here's the meme. Like Tesla's not ESG friendly friendly anymore, but Lockheed Martin and Raytheon are, because, you know, the US military is going to go all green and net neutral. And it's just stuff like this that is, you can bring it to the people in your life, the normies and stuff like that, and just be like, look at the hypocrisy. Like, how silly is this clown world? So like Justin Trudeau, like when we had the whole trucker protest there in January, how he all of a sudden like was a close exposure to COVID and had to go into hiding. It's like, oh, look, here we go. Trudeau, hide and seek champion of, January 2020. And it's just, it boils down, you know, sort of ideas, hypocrisy, you know, whatever message down into a very simple format, you know, picture and a few words. So that the other thing, and like earlier this year when Germany, like after they shut down all their nuclear reactors, and then the EU in February was like, oh, nuclear is considered green energy now. It's like, what is going on in clown world? Like, you guys, thank you for all the great like memeing. So, and like the whole like meme warfare, right? Like the battle that we're in now, it's online, it's everywhere. So memes, it's just such a great, you know, tool and weapon. And that's what has me bullish, is just all the craziness of clown world.
I want to bring up, just because we both have a mutual distaste of Justin Trudeau. So this was one that I had to comment on the other day. But he said, Putin's decision to expel Canadian media from Moscow is an attempt to silence them from reporting the facts, and it is unacceptable. Journalists must be able to work safely, free from censorship, intimidation, and interference. This is something Canada will always stand up for. And then I posted an article from last month from the Globe and Mail, which is actually a not only just like fringe minority, but this is like a mainstream publication. Ottawa faces blowback for plan to regulate internet, which is a bill that would basically deem whether or not news was factual, and then potentially China style firewall it out if it was not acceptable according to whatever the regulations were within Canada. So it is clown world-esque, what we see from a lot of this. My question then is, in what degree does, and this is open to everybody, in what degree does Bitcoin fix this kind of stuff? What kind of clown world problems does Bitcoin fix?
All of them. Right? Like, just how does it fix it? It fixes it by showing the hypocrisy, just how we're all being scammed. And with Bitcoin, you know, you can verify it all. It's just sort of changing that mindset, that making your, like, bringing self-responsibility back to you in regards to, you know, how your health, what you're taking in terms of information and everything like that. But then, like, also how you were saying, Ben, like earlier, that you know, there is so much information out there, and then with the marketing, like, people get caught up in like, oh, like, I think this is right, and we don't have a lot of time to go out there and verify. So we, like, lots of people generally are just trusting whatever they see. And
so you see it as like a shift in cultural ethos of, hey, like, if we're applying this amount of scrutiny to the language of value that we're using, then that starts to, and I can attest to this, at least in my own life, where those values, that ethos of don't trust, verify, starts to eke out into other aspects of your life, where you're, you know, if you become relatively well versed in a particular topic like Bitcoin, like I would say everybody on the panel is at least relatively well versed in various aspects of Bitcoin, you see various stories and reporting on it, and you can instantly call bullshit on it because you see it and you go, well, that's, I know for a fact that's not true because I verified it myself, and this is just like a repeated talking point from multiple times debunked reports or like Econo, what's the guy who Digiconomist, all of his like ESG stuff that he's been pumping, and a number of the reports on claims of Bitcoin energy usage that have been thrice debunked in multiple instances, where they continue to be trumpeted as, hey, Bitcoin's going to consume all of the world's power by this point, or it's going to raise the temperature of Earth 2 degrees by this date, or so on and so forth. And Bitcoiners can see that. And so when you see something presented as fact that like consistently presented as fact that to be fiction, then it changes that mindset, and it makes you kind of question it. And I think that's available because Bitcoin can be verified. Like, you can actually go and verify it. And so it makes you question, well, if they're wrong about this particular topic, how well versed in other topics are they? And so it encourages you to ask those questions and go down those roads. And again, you're right. Not everybody has fucking time for that. I definitely don't. There's definitely been a rise of a double-edged sword in I support the current thing is one of the clown world things. I would say on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's the I oppose the current thing also popping up, where it's just like whatever the current thing is, you're just picking a side without independent verification. I've gone by a different ethos of I will continue to live my life despite the current thing.
Yeah,
is kind of my new ethos. And if it's very near and dear to me, then I will investigate to decide whether I support or disavow the current thing. It's kind of where I'm at. That was a long-winded nothing burger of stuff that I just said. But Mark or P, do you have thoughts on kind of the ethos shift that comes with being a Bitcoiner?
I do, but I want to give Mark the opportunity to speak first.
Well, that's super kind of you. Wow. I'll make my.
Never so polite, aren't we?
Never forget this moment.
I immediately owe you one. I feel like.
You do.
No, I'll keep mine quick though. But everything that you said resonates with me. For me, like how does it fix clown world? And clown world is different things to different people, but Bitcoin attracts people who have learned the value and maybe realize that they've been undervaluing truth and telling the truth and having something that you can trust. Right. And for as long as I can remember, I've always been very like, don't lie to me. Like, we can probably disagree on a lot of things. Just don't lie to me. That's kind of the line in the sand. I feel like a lot of the clown world has people divided because they disagree on social things or political things or monetary things. And Bitcoin community is like, I'm just interested in truth, like telling the truth. And we can have very differing views on a lot of things, but if we don't lie to each other, we're not doing like deceitful things, I can't be that mad at you, right? There's actually a lot of different viewpoints held in the Bitcoin community, a lot of different viewpoints. But the one thing that we're not going to compromise on is like lying. And that's what Bitcoin's all about. It's a truthful ledger, right? It's almost representative of truth. It's the only true thing we have. And when you start to value truth in a way that you maybe never did before, it attracts a certain type of person. So really, if I'm thinking about how Bitcoin fixes clown world, it acts as this like light for these little truth moths to flock around. And all of a sudden now there's clown world and there's non-clown world, right? And so it almost acts as the opposite of clown world in that it attracts people who like truthfulness. And that's what I see. That's just what I'm observing. And I'm like, I didn't even care about certain things. And now it's shining a light on things that I was like, wait a second, I'm seeing a lot. I'm being lied to way more often than I thought I was. And it wasn't until like I really started taking Bitcoin seriously that I started seeing it personally.
Yeah, I think that's true. I just wanted to give a shout out to Yellow, who by my calculation, the time where he's at should be about almost 2 a.m. But he's out here dropping comments that are actually profound.
Oh yeah, he said it way better than I did. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yellow says Bitcoin is a mind virus. It changes you slowly to a better version of yourself. It incentivizes you to do the work on yourself and those around you. It's a force of good. And then he also wanted to enlighten us and wanted to say that, by the way, quote, I support the current thing is a meme made by one of us, Run the Banks. which I did not know. So that's super awesome.
Sauces right there. That's sauces.
Yeah. So Yellow, thanks for staying up late and commenting. I've been reposting your Cardano video because somebody kept on bringing up Cardano, so I had to share it. Cardano. I love it. I can't do the accent, but that's okay. P, thoughts?
I'll keep it short and brief on this one. I agree. I think we are clearly living in a clown world. The major news publications, the articles that they post are just absolutely insane. I honestly think also a lot of Bitcoiners are focused on, which side of the political spectrum they align with. To me, whether you identify in the U.S. at least as a Democrat or a Republican, everybody's just it's the Harlem Globetrotters and the Washington Generals, and basically approximately every 4 years, sometimes 8, they switch names in terms of like one becomes the Harlem Globetrotters, one becomes the Washington Generals. For those that don't know, Harlem Globetrotters are like the famous like trick shot like basketball team, and the Washington Generals are like their like nemesis, and they like are always the ones that lose. And I feel like that's just what the U.S. political system is. I feel like it's absolute horseshit, and like it's all bullshit. I think Bitcoin is interesting because it starts to fix the incentives, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. Trillionaire philanthropist and horse-dicked man Charlie Munger is famous for saying, you show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcome. That was obviously a joke. Charlie Munger is a piece of shit, but that quote is real and it's a good one. And Bitcoin does not fix absolutely everything. It does not end world hunger instantly. It does not save Christmas. But it does start to fix those incentives. And when you fix the incentives, when you create systems that are unable to be, or very resistant to being attacked, you start to force people to act in ways that not only benefit themselves, but simultaneously benefit the entire network. That's to say, the Bitcoin network, which is really powerful.
I think a good way to round out this topic is with a quote from Jeff Booth. And I think it perfectly ties into the fixing of Clown World, or it's a diagnosis of one of the actual causes of the symptoms that we see in Clown World. It's a diagnosis. And so Jeff Booth said,
is that the symptom?
This is, yeah. So the quote from Jeff Booth, and this was from like a year ago, he said, "Money is just information. So it makes sense that if it is corrupted in the form of printing, we would get misinformation everywhere else." And so at a base layer, again, if the basis of all society in terms of where we place value is calculated through our money, but that can be entirely manipulated, then you're getting incorrect information about everything we value in life, about everything that has monetary value.
It's like every time we open our mouths on this stream, but it got garbled and you literally heard something else, and we're trying to communicate with one another. I mean, that's what's happening, right? So all of a sudden we're back to the trust thing. Like I can't even trust anything anyone's saying, because I don't know what I'm replying to, because I don't know what's. Booth nails it every time. I'm tired of him being so eloquent.
He's so good.
I can tell you're furious.
And I mean, again, somebody commented below that the opposite is just as true. So like if you have a base layer where it's absolute truth, as Bitcoin is designed to be, especially as it's grown to be, maybe like it could have been corrupted early on if people understood the underlying value that would be brought forth from this network. But luckily it was able to flourish unabated for a number of years before people recognized that, thus the altcoin boom. The altcoin boom is just corrupted information on value, right? It's just somebody wanted to corrupt the information for themselves to benefit themselves. And so we see this expanse of shitcoins everywhere because, hey, I see your network for truth of where we allocate value, but it doesn't quite benefit me in the way that I please. So I just want to tweak the network for value so that that communication, that information favors me a little bit. And then thus
I think that is an incredibly generous characterization. I think that like
a little bit.
yeah, come on. I mean, like, let's be real.
70% pre-mine, that's all I ask.
Yeah, exactly. Look, all I want is to be able to fuck over everyone else and to take all their Bitcoin and put it in my pocket. Like, it's not much, right? Like, come on.
That's not unreasonable.
Yeah. I mean,
I love Jeff Booth. Like, again, there's more information packed into this single sentence than most people can get out in like 20 minutes of talking. And it's so beautiful. And again, if you extrapolate out from a system where the base layer of value, the communication layer of value, is nothing but truthful and can't be co-opted, then yes, you can have people lie in the interim, but eventually shit hits the fan and it normalizes based on the layer of truth that we built society upon. And that's what we don't have right now. We can so easily get away from that and shift the underlying rules of society that there's no basis. Like, if where it was at right now remained static and it was like, here's the rules as they exist right now, and then it just didn't move from there, at least you have a baseline to inform your economic decisions moving forward, because you know what the fuck's up. But it constantly changes. And so how do you base any economic decision? I don't know. So I think we'll cap that one there.
Bitcoin. That's the answer.
Kudos to
Bitcoin,
Jeff Booth. He's incredible. If you have not read The Price of Tomorrow, you need to, and try and take in every single podcast this man has ever been on. I'm very excited because I'm going to be out in Vancouver this summer, and I get to spend a night chilling with Jeff Booth, just like my family and his family. We're all just going to chill out. And I'm so excited because if there's one person in this space that I feel this like affection for, like a father figure type, like he was the voice in my ear during all of this trucker bullshit when I was losing my mind and I was basically having anxiety attacks multiple times a day. He was the voice in my ear that brought me back down to earth and calmly explained exactly what was happening on a global level and how it made sense. And it's going to be bumpy in the interim, but what you're doing has integrity and you shouldn't ever question that. And you know, like you've done what a sane person would do. And like, he was just very comforting to have the voice. Like imagine an audiobook of Jeff Booth just playing in your ear. He's just so calming. It's just, yeah. So again, nothing but respect for Jeff and love the guy. So kudos to him for being incredible. But with that, we're going to do a rotation. Thank you everybody in the comments for being here again. Keep them coming, but we're going to rotate to Mark. Mark, I would love to hear what you're excited about. What has you bullish this week?
Yeah. So I am really bullish, and this is based on just some recent experiences that have opened my eyes a little bit. So I'm particularly close to the Lightning Network as it relates to Bitcoin, right? So I have a front row seat to what's being built and designed for Lightning. Of course, I'm bullish on Bitcoin and Lightning. I am bullish on the delta, the difference between what Lightning is doing, like right now, like today, like it's actually doing, and how many people have no idea about Lightning. Because we're in this world where like we get the news updates about all the companies and all the news releases and breaking, this awesome, product came out. Strike just did another thing. El Salvador is building wallets. And we're like, oh my gosh, this network is just, it's growing. And look at the node count go up and look how many transactions are going through, and it feels like it's exploding. It feels like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of talking about Lightning. I mean, this is Lightning news all the time. And then of course with the Bitcoin 2022, it was just like the conference of Lightning. I was at a conference recently and talking to people. So, it was a gaming conference. game developers and things like this, but there's plenty of people on the blockchain or the NFT or the crypto space. And these crypto guys came up and they were wondering, they're just asking about Zebedee and what we're up to. And we're like, yeah, we build on Bitcoin. We put Bitcoin in games. It's honestly that simple. And it's pretty amazing. And I would get questions like, but what are the gas fees on Lightning? Or what token do you use? And so these guys are in
my sweet summer child.
Yes. I was like, I'm going to blow your mind right now. They like the answer. They love the answer. So, but here are people who are in crypto. Like, these are people, this isn't your like aunt or your whatever. Like, these are people in crypto. They pay attention to the space. They own tokens. They look at they're on Twitter. They're following the things. The awareness of what Lightning is doing is much lower than I realized. We're in a bubble, but like, I'm seeing Lightning being used for the most demanding customers in the world, which are gamers. I mean, there's a reason why like hardware, like graphics cards happen to be the perfect thing to mine Bitcoin with, because they were so ludicrously engineered for the demands of gamers who just wanted great graphics and really fast speeds. And they have no tolerance for latency. Like, if you want to build the best user experience, you start with gamers because they're the most demanding. And that's what I think what we love about them. And I'm seeing literally like casual gamers, in other countries texting each other sats in Discord. And and here's the point, they're having fun with it. So if you can cross the fun barrier, you're on your way, because you've taken away a lot of the annoyance and the friction. You've abstracted away the complexity. And all I hear is Lightning will never work and Lightning's too complex. But like, the reality is like so different than what people realize, that I'm bullish because we are way earlier than I thought we were. And I'm seeing what it's doing today, not just the potential of it. And it's like, wow. Okay. This is, yeah. I was feeling bad about being late. And now I'm almost feeling guilty about being early.
It's incredible what has happened with Lightning just in the past few years. Like, even like my first experience would have been 2018, downloading, I can't remember what the wallet was, but it was the first like mobile wallet you could download and use Lightning. And I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Like, I had not a clue like how it worked. I downloaded it. I was like, okay, wait, so I have to open a channel with the person I'm going to pay, and then I can pay them a bunch of times. So there's no understanding of like, oh no, this extrapolates out to every person that they're connected to and every person that person is connected to, depending on the route. And like, so I played around with it. I was kind of disillusioned. I was like, okay, well, this isn't what I expected. And then I, tried it again a year later, and then a year later. And like the leaps and bounds that happened between then, of like, I couldn't get a payment through unless I directly opened a channel with somebody, to, oh, it seems like it's kind of working, to like, oh yeah, like my payments go through all the time, especially for like small value ones, to I'm getting, 99 sats per minute as people listen to my podcast live, and I can see it coming through my own node infrastructure, like in a way that's non-custodial. And then I can link to my node from Greece when I'm there and spend those sats instantaneously to pay my utility bills. Like, in what fucking world do we live in, that kind of thing happens so quickly? And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot to do. There's always a lot to do, and it can always be improved. And I see people that they'll gripe about Lightning on Twitter and everything. And I think it's important that we don't dismiss those people, because some people are trying to break things, right? They're trying to see like, where am I going to have issues? And right now, for some, it may be, slightly higher value payments. If you want to send like $100, depending on your setup, it may be difficult to do that. And you may not have the liquidity in the channels, depending on the wallet, especially some of these automated ones. It's hit or miss. But because of what I've seen so far, I'm very optimistic that those issues are going to be fewer and further between as time goes on. And I think of the progress that was made between 2017 and say 2021, 2017, we didn't even have SegWit yet to enable Lightning to happen. And then Lightning happened the next year. And then 2021, I'm able to download a wallet that has a single unified balance that handles both on-chain and Lightning addresses. and that I can send seamlessly between the two, and it's all automated for me, and I have no idea what's happening, and it's non-custodial. So like those things for them to be available, and the invention of Lightning addresses, where you can, instead of like creating invoices, you just have BTC sessions at zbd.gg, and somebody can just have that information and send you payments rather than having to create a Lightning invoice, which was another criticism of Lightning. For all of those issues to have been addressed basically for me between 2018 and 2021, that's insane. And so I think of like, give it another halving, and what are we going to be seeing? It's going to be incredible. So yeah, I echo your thoughts on Lightning. I'd love to hear the thoughts of Bekka or P. If you've had much experience with Lightning yet, what you've been seeing, what you're curious about. If you have questions, have at her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to jump in here. So I prior to, I guess, May or April maybe of 2021, I did not have very much experience with Lightning. And then Rojwinder and D++ and JC Crown, who's at Zebedee, and a bunch of other people were like, yo, you got to get in on this shit. It's fucking dope. And so I was like, oh, God, but why? And D++ was like, the friendship. And so we was like, oh, yeah, whatever. But then they convinced me. Yeah, exactly. And then I immediately was obsessed. And so we actually got together with a bunch of other people, but it was about 15 of us, and started PlebNet. And went down that rabbit hole super hard. And PlebNet is amazing. The amount of Bitcoin, of liquidity BTC that is locked up in the Lightning Network that's represented in PlebNet is massive, and super proud of what everyone has been able to do there. So I think Lightning is an amazing it's an amazing opportunity. There are so many more articulate people who are currently actively using Lightning right now to solve real world problems, rather than me and everybody in PlebNet who's just like shit posting and having fun. But I think of the Lightning Network as it's like the most engaging real-time strategy game that I've ever played, in that if you're running a node, you are actively trying to figure out how to set channel fees and your base rates and everything in such a way that it incentivizes activity that is good for you economically. But the beauty of it, again, going back to the incentives, is that it is set up in such a way that whatever you do that is good for you economically is also good for the network and for everybody else, and it strengthens it. And of course, there are opportunities for people to develop these strategies that basically take advantage of like sort of arbitrage opportunities, and those are super interesting. But again, overall, they improve the network, the strength of the network, the amount of liquidity that can be routed through the network. So I think Lightning is fucking amazing, and I'm super, super stoked on everything that you guys are doing at Zebedee.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm just literally like, I work in marketing, but it's like marketing and communication. And advice for anyone looking to get into marketing: work at a company where you don't need, like, the product is good, and all you need to do is communicate about it clearly, and you don't have to spin anything, and you don't have to do any fanciness. Like, just tell people about the product. So I will pass along your kind words to the people actually building it, because I'm literally just the messenger.
Michael Tidwell also.
Yeah.
Amazing guy.
Bekka, any thoughts on Lightning? Like, what's your experience with Lightning so far? Have you played around much?
No, I haven't played around too much with Lightning. I've made a few purchases and sent a few invoices. That's about it. So obviously I need to get on it, because it seems like that's where the party's at. So yeah.
There's not too much of a learning curve when it comes to just like using a Lightning wallet. I'd imagine. Like, what was your first impression of using it?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I used it was actually to go to Katie the Russian, her Underground Citadel event last year at Bitcoin 2021. So I had to go through the whole process, set up a Lightning wallet and all that, and that was super easy for someone that was like not technical at all. I was able to make the purchase. So yeah, that's pretty much my exposure to it. So I mean, it's really like, it was simple enough for a regard like me to figure it out. So
what wallet were you using?
Blue Wallet.
Okay. Yeah. So it's, it's nice, easy, simple, like
Simple.
works easily, especially like I've done demos between Blue and Zebedee. And
Yeah.
I mean, like there's so much happening where it's easy to jump on. Like it's another story if you're gonna dive into the deep end and start setting up channels. Like that's a whole other ball game of like figuring out liquidity and everything. And again, it's not important that everyone does that, but it is important that anybody who chooses to can do that. And that's the key differentiation. Like people, they freak out about the idea of Lightning's going to centralize. It's going to be a hubs and spokes. But the key thing, and like this was the impetus of Plebnet, was just regular people being like, yo, rather than going the hub and spoke model and everybody just connecting to like Wallet of Satoshi or whatever it may be, they spun up their own nodes and they started connecting to each other and creating liquidity in different parts of the market where maybe it wasn't addressed before. And I think that's an incredible thing that for those that want to dive deep, they can go and they can set up their own liquidity. They can set up their own nodes and do it trustlessly and do it on their own. And those that just want the benefits of Lightning can just use whatever the hell wallet they want, which is awesome. So I think that's fantastic. Like, does everybody? I mean, Mark, what I'll say to you is different question from everybody else, but does everybody like what wallets do you enjoy? Because obviously, Mark, you enjoy the Zebedee wallet, but what other wallets do you enjoy? And I'll go to Mark first.
You want to go me? Yeah. So apart from the Zebedee wallet, I'm not gonna shill our bags. I do really like Moon. I like with that's 2 U's. I like that. Again, I'm super aware that like Bitcoin, is it Bitcoin? Is it on chain? Is it Lightning? What's the difference? Is it a different invoice? This is so confusing. Moon does so many of that for you. It just handles it for you. Also, it's great for people who are like, well, how do I get money into this Lightning wallet that you've set me up with? It's like, I can send you on-chain Bitcoin, and now that's in your Moon wallet, you now have the option of spending it either way. I just think what they've created is really, underestimated from that respect, just because it has that on-chain component, which is, I think, the bridge people need. It's just easy to use, honestly. So that's a good runner-up for me.
Well, and again, this is the first time, like I don't know when Moon launched, but I kind of started noticing it last year. Like that's when it kind of came.
Me too.
Yeah. And so the idea of a singular unified balance was a relatively new one. Like loading up something like Blue Wallet, there's, a bit more of like, refill, like it's a different terminology. Whereas Moon was just like, no, this is just how much you have. Yeah. And then if you scan a Bitcoin address, it goes there. If you scan a Lightning invoice, it goes there. It just does what you need it to. And so that's, again, and from what we were talking about before, think of that as a relatively new concept. And then fast forward a few years, like think of the previous, like 2018 to 2021, all of a sudden we had something like Moon. Fast forward from, today, a few years, and how that unified balance and that singular experience of this is Bitcoin in whatever the most efficient way to send that transaction is, and how much simpler that interaction is going to be between on-chain and Lightning. I think that'll be incredible. But I'm ranting too much. Bekka, I know that you've been using Blue Wallet.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to check out Moon. Check out also Zebedee, because then you can create in a very easy way, you can create a Lightning address. So like Bitcoin Bekka at zbd.gg. And then with that information, anybody can send you Lightning. So this is your email address for money. But I'm curious, P, what's your experience with Lightning so far? Like what wallets have you played with, is what I'm getting at.
As I said earlier, oh my sweet summer child, all of them. All of us, like the early crew in Plebnet, like the convoluted stuff we were doing to try to like break everything. We were like, oh, we're gonna create a super node. It's gonna be great. We're gonna do all this stuff. We're gonna create liquidity over here. We're gonna create liquidity over there. So, I mean, I have at least 8 different Lightning wallets on my phone. I think Moon, which by the way, it's important to say this, MUUN.
Yes.
It's not MOON. There are a ton of companies in the Bitcoin space who have Moon associated with their name. There's like Moon, there's Pay with Moon, and then there's the wallet we're talking about, which is MUUN. I love MUUN wallet, Moon wallet. It is, as you said, they do a really, really good job of solving one of the, I would say, I don't want to say the largest threat to Bitcoin, not even threat, the largest challenge in Bitcoin adoption, which Zebedee also has done a fantastic job of doing, which is just the user experience. It used to be infinitely more complex. Like if you were setting up a Bitcoin wallet in fucking 2012, 2015, it was like, yeah, you had to buy a printer, then you had to print out your paper wallet, then you had to destroy that printer, then you had to burn the remains of that printer, then you had to kill everyone who saw you buy that printer. It was like the most extreme shit ever. And
the trail of bodies was
yeah, exactly. Make sure you wrap the bodies in chicken wire. It was like insane. And so to be able to be in a position today where, I can talk to my mom and, she's like, oh, this newfangled cryptocurrency, like I don't want to. And I'm like, great, just open Cash App. And, we buy dinner and we split it. And I send her Bitcoin and she's like, wait, what? It's that simple? And I'm like, yes, it is. So, I mean, I think that the best wallet of the type we are talking about, where you have custody is, or most of the time you have custody, or mostly custody, is Moon Wallet, MUUN. I recommend that to almost everyone. My personal favorite wallet, I really like the Bleeding Edge wallets because I'm a software engineer and a bit of a nerd. So I really love Blixt wallet, BLIXT by Hempus. It's one of the more, it implements a lot of the aspects of LNURL and some really exciting Lightning technologies that are sort of still very much bleeding edge. There's also, I think it's Simple Bitcoin Wallet, which is still very much in progress, but is also really, really exciting. And yeah. I mean, awesome. Strike Wallet is also a fantastic option for people who are like, I just want to interact with Bitcoin. And you're like, Lightning, they're like, I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know. Strike Wallet's great because you can buy Bitcoin using Strike as well, and for 0 fees. So.
Also, shout out to Zeus. They just had a dope redesign, and it's like a new piece of software now. They did a great job with it. So.
No shit. Okay, I gotta check out. I gotta check that out. Also, I said this earlier, but like Zebedee's bleeding edge as well. I think it's really interesting that Zebedee has successfully identified a very sort of a green field within the space, which is gamers, right? And incentivizing and using Bitcoin-based rewards for in-game everything. JC Crown and Zebedee and I became early on. We were friends because he was like, "Oh, you can totally fuck around with Counter-Strike," and I was like, "No shit, I can kill my friends in Counter-Strike and earn sats." And he was like, "Yeah, man, Zebedee's dope." And we would set up these rooms, or it would just be like, so I think that's a really, really powerful use case that I think a lot of people didn't really grok immediately. And so I love what Zebedee's doing. Also, there's a lot of innovation on Zebedee's side as well. They have gamer tags, they have the addresses that we were just talking about. So I think in the near future, a lot of sort of non-gamer or non-game faced, by the way, you can use Zebedee if you're not a gamer. You don't have to touch gaming at all in order to use Zebedee. But I think a lot of the things that Zebedee has pioneered in terms of Lightning will be very quickly adopted by other wallets, which is great because, we'll move the space forward.
I agree. I'm glad you brought up Zeus. So awesome. This is when I was talking about accessing my Lightning node from Greece back in Canada and seeing payments stream in from people listening to the podcast, paying per minute, and then paying my bills with it. This was the app that I was using to access my node in Canada while I was on the opposite side of the globe. And the refresh was incredible, so much so that I made a new tutorial on Zeus that comes out on Monday. So that perfect timing for us to be talking about this, because the Zeus wallet refresh, there will be a new tutorial Monday, I think at 9 my time, which is Mountain Time. So anyways, yeah, highly recommend. It's incredible if you're running your own node. And to the node point, I got to give a shout out to Chris in the comments right now. So he sent in earlier. He said, you guys let the over 50 crowd in here. I'm here to find out about Lightning. And it sounds like he's fucking killing it, because he said that he's just tracked down the parts for a Raspberry Pi 8 gigabyte, and he's going to be building his own Bitcoin node. Sir, fantastic. Good for you. I applaud you. That's awesome. Yes, absolutely. Build a node. It's such a great, if nothing else, it's such a great learning tool, because you get first you get the fun act of like putting together like the Pi and the hardware, and like getting a cool little customized case. If you're going that route, you can do it all. And it's very easy to put together. But then you get to start, like, you can piece by piece learn about tiny things you can do with your node. Like the first natural one is, well, what's the point of running a node? Well, you download the entire Bitcoin blockchain so that you're not trusting somebody else to do it for you. And then you can verify transactions. And so to do that, you connect a wallet to your node so that you're not trusting the default node of whatever the wallet you're using was. So that's like step one. It's like, oh, well, I have maybe Blue Wallet, or maybe I have Sparrow Wallet on desktop, or maybe I'm using Blockstream Green, or maybe I'm using Insert Wallet that has that functionality. And you say, well, I don't want to trust Blue. I don't want to trust Blockstream. I don't want to trust some random server that Sparrow connects to. I'm going to connect to my own node. And then all of a sudden, you're removing that layer of trust. You're removing somebody else telling you what Bitcoin is and that you've received transactions and what your balance is. And you're also removing the fact that you're kind of leaking your transactional information to whoever is running that node. And then to the topic at hand, you can then start diving into Lightning. You can start learning, like, how does this actually work? If I open a channel to somebody, like, what is sufficient? What am I going to be doing? Am I receiving a lot of payments as a merchant? Do I just want to make payments? Like, what is my motive here? Do I want to route payments and maybe earn a few sats here and there? And so you dive down these little rabbit holes based on what you're trying to do. And you learn so much from the act of running a node, and I cannot recommend it enough. I did a video on how to run an Umbrel, which I will say is still the most user-friendly node, like plug and play node software out there. So you can look that up on the channel. Just search Bitcoin node, and I think it's like the first video that comes up on YouTube. But then I also recently did a video on the Ronin Dojo, which is designed to be a backend for Samurai Wallet and like all the privacy, like CoinJoin, Whirlpool mixes and everything. And then I've done a video on my node, which is another kind of implementation that you can use. And then my next mission is to cover Start9. Start9 Labs is doing, again, it's like your own personal server. So not just Bitcoin related stuff, kind of in tune with what Umbrel is starting to do as well. But you can, like, rather than using the cloud to store your photos, you can store them locally on your own server and then access them from anywhere through an app. So there's some interesting things going on there. So, but yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend running a node, Chris, and kudos to you for being so curious and wanting to dive down this rabbit hole, because I mean, that's what makes Bitcoin tick. And the tinkerers that play with this stuff are the ones that make Bitcoin so robust, because people get curious, and through that they gain self-sovereignty. So hats off to you. I'll leave my rant there. And I think I'm going to use that as the perfect opportunity to segue. And I will actually, before I segue here into our last reason, I will say I did a video on Umbrel, but I also did a video on setting up your own Lightning nodes. So if you're curious about learning how to set up those channels, manage liquidity and all of that, that is all available. It's a bit of a beast. I think it's like an hour and a half long because there's a lot to learn. But yeah, go check it out. I'll drop it in the chat momentarily here, both links, and then yeah, go.
I used that video to set up my Lightning node and
Did
balance
you?
liquidity and do all those things actually. So thank you for that. I owe you one.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, I will convey the message to Nate, B for Bacon One on Twitter, who works at Voltage, because he.
Oh yeah, I know Nate.
Yeah, he spent a good hour and a half, 2 hours walking me through how to do everything, and that tutorial would not have been anywhere near as coherent without his help. So, hats off to Nate and Voltage. So, yeah. But I'm gonna leave that topic there. We're gonna do a final rotation. Mark, I know you're tight on time, so just drop me a message whenever you gotta dip out. That's cool. But we're gonna jump to P. And dude, let me know what has you feeling bullish this week.
I'm so glad you asked. In order to prepare for this, I'm going to pour myself a little bit more of a drink. Drink out of my goblet.
You're the right man to end this. Wow.
Yeah, this is great. I'm
Perfectly
loving
dramatic.
the goblet. That's great.
And then light some $100 bills on fire.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you just gotta burn that fiat, bro. Just burn it. Burn it all. All right. Yeah, man, we're in a bear market. And all the bullshit happens in the bull markets. All the nonsense, all the noise, all the constant screaming of shitcoin apologists and everyone else and the fucking bullshit Novogratz tattoos. He gets one every time. It's in the bear markets that all the real work gets done. The bear markets, the sideways markets, whatever the fuck we're calling this, is where the signal rises above the noise. All the people who are here just to make a quick buck, make a quick fiat cuck buck, they drop off. The Luna Terra situation, which is terrible for the people. And like, you know, I make a lot of jokes about like, oh, you get what you deserve and fuck those. Like, there are a lot of people who lost their life savings, and that is really, really sad. But also, we all had to go through that process, whether it was this cycle or last cycle or the cycle before that, where we come to understand what Bitcoin actually is, and that despite all of the claims of people who are deeply, deeply have the fiat hand, deep in their asshole, puppeting them, are just lying to us. And it takes, pain is an excellent teacher, and it takes those crashes, those shitcoin just fiascos to really create the kind of next generation of people who are implementing the most amazing things on Bitcoin, which is sound money and totally separate from everything else. And we've got some incredible technologies that are being developed right now and that have been in development for a long time. And now that the noise is dying down, now that people are, focused on trying to, quote unquote, prevent the next, Terra Luna, and that's sort of this like weird flame that the moths that are always going to be attracted to it are attracted to. It allows us and people that are actually into Bitcoin to really do the work. And so I'm super, super bullish on the work that is being done on the Lightning Network, on Bitcoin, the discussions that have been, happening with, around BIP 119. Like, those are really, really important conversations. And they only really happen when people are not distracted by the price action. So I could not be more bullish on Bitcoin as a life-saving freedom technology, Bitcoin as a store of value in a world where almost everything else is being inflated away artificially. I could not be more bullish on the technology behind Bitcoin and the amazing work that's being done in that regard.
I love that. the bear market brings the signal. Couldn't agree more. The signal at Bitcoin 2019 was through the roof. Gotta say, like people will see whenever like I feel like Bitcoin 2022. Bitcoiners are very good at finding the signal, so you just gravitate towards it, and you like if there's some bullshit going on, you're like, here we go, found it. Yeah, but I feel like you're right in that when like an extended bear market hits, and I'm talking like more than a few months, more than 6 months, you need like a year or more of like, oh, we haven't hit a previous all-time high and it's just been kind of flat and not much is going on and people are disillusioned. During that, there's the people that wanted those fiat gains that have filtered out, the shitcoiners that got destroyed that are disillusioned. And then there's the shitcoiners that got destroyed and realized Bitcoin only, of which we've seen a whole bunch recently. I've seen so many tweets like, hey, I really like this was it, especially with the Luna thing. They're like, yeah, Bitcoin only. I'm just going to dollar cost average. Like it's the easiest thing to do. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere. So why not just do this and sidestep all the idiocy? And then again, like people just get their heads down and you go to an event during a bear market and the people that are there are unshaken. They don't
absolutely.
They don't care. They're like, oh yeah, I'm working on this. Cool. Like as if nothing, like the crazy ups and downs of Bitcoin do not exist. And they're like, yeah, we're doing, we're working on this. It's awesome. It's coming down the pipeline. We're doing a ton, we're here for the weekend to show this, but then we're back. We're back heads down and everything. During the bull market, it's like, oh man, there's interviews and there's all this stuff going on. We can't build anything. We basically just have to showcase what we already have. It's difficult to get shit done in a bull market.
Dude, I was at a BitDevs last night and it was a little bit lighter than usual, I guess, but there was like, oh, shout out to all the people who showed up to BitDevs during a bear market. And I was like, it did not even occur to me to not go. Like, why? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But like,
why would you even say that was meaningful?
Yeah, I was like, really? Like people only
Bitcoin.
come when like the price is up, and of course, like the price doesn't really get talked about amongst people who are actually building. They don't really talk about that.
You're like,
too much,
look,
but
I have invested my life in this thing. The
what a
price
concept,
action,
right?
Yeah, the price action on a 6-month basis means nothing to me.
I mean, kind of. I didn't realize it was that unusual. I mean, it is unusual, I guess, but
yeah.
No, I totally agree. I mean, also you should come to Nashville. The Nashville Bitcoin meetup is fire. But
that's all I hear is that Nashville is completely fire.
It's
I've heard that too.
You're not wrong. The people that told you that did not lie to you. The new Bitcoin park that we're building out is incredible. We're going to be doing dev workshops. That's awesome. All sorts of cool shit.
That's awesome.
I feel like 2023 for me is maybe because I started doing these like, I say started, but I'm about to start doing these traveling workshops where I could like go to a city and I'm going to like the first round.
For real?
Yeah, man.
Dude,
yeah.
we got to talk because I actually have a note that's like my to-do items. That's like reach out to BTC sessions about coming to Nashville and doing a fucking thing. Yes.
Well, yeah, man. Like it's so my initial trial is going to be Vancouver. So I'm going to Vancouver and I'm doing two things. I'm doing a morning workshop, which is just like the basics of self-custody for newbies. Like sending them towards like good places to get Bitcoin. And then like, how do you get a wallet? How do you back it up? How do you recover it when you accidentally delete it, which you'll inevitably do? And then like a little bit of hands-on with like, here's a plethora of hardware wallets and kind of what they look like and the pros and cons of them. These will be your next steps. You're probably going to want to investigate what hardware you're going to gravitate towards and grab one of these. So that's kind of my goal for that. But the afternoon is a deep dive on cold card. So like everything about setting it up, everything about backing it up in a variety of different ways, including like encrypted SD, just your seed phrase, using seed XOR, all of that kind of stuff. And then like partially signed Bitcoin transactions with the SD card and like passphrases, basically like as much as we can cram into like a 4-hour afternoon is what it's going to be. So I'm happy to say that the Vancouver one is already hit the point where it's economically feasible. So it's just like how much beyond that does it go, which is awesome. I've still got, it's going to be in July, like July 16th. So there's still a ways to go, but like the cold card one is half sold out, and then nice Munger. And then we've got the morning one for noobs. I'm running some ads for that to see if I can grab some newbies in there. But New York, August, potentially. That's in the plan. I'm going to be in LA in November, so I might try and set up one there. And then 2023, if kind of what I see this year with those three potentials works out, then I'm just going to fucking balls to the walls, man. Let's go do a bunch of these in places where there's demand. But we'll see. Again, like I'll take feedback from people, but hopefully it makes sense.
What do you mean we'll see? I'm gonna call you by your first name, BTC. You have created some of the best content that allows people to understand Bitcoin that exists. There's nothing to see. You gotta just come in there like dick swinging, slap it on the table, and drop some amazing content, as you always do. Your content is fucking incredible. Let's keep it going, man. Also,
don't deprive the world of the content.
Yeah, how fucking dare you?
That is so selfish.
Also, you mentioned Vancouver, and I didn't hear anything you said after that because I just was thinking to myself, like, why does BTC Sessions hate America?
That's a great question.
It's more a question of like escaping one's own country, and
sounds like difficult to do.
That sounds like something you would say if you hated America.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much plan on making the rounds throughout the US. But yeah, again, it's just a question of economic feasibility. It seems to be okay in Vancouver. I did have one that was going to be going in Kelowna, but I discovered that like with the population base there and kind of like even like running ads and stuff, it was difficult to fill those out. So I basically got to focus on large urban centers, not like, places where it's a little bit kind of spread out. I've got to be a bit more focused. And honestly, what I'm learning is the deep dives, the complex topics seem to be more desirable than the basics. So
there's, especially as we continue to, as more and more people get into Bitcoin, as more and more people create content around Bitcoin, it's the more nuanced takes, in my opinion, that are the most valuable. And again, as someone who deeply understands, I say this, you are someone who deeply understands like what it takes to create really effective educational content. I mean, look, I'd be lying if I said I have not watched most of your videos as like, oh shit, like I gotta like what, like how do I like extract this value, and then also learn a ton from you like very early on, like in my Bitcoin journey. And it's I was so excited when you started like getting like deep in the Lightning Network hole and you were like putting out things. I was like, finally someone who actually can create good content, because I'm here shit posting all the time.
People want to know if that's your $5 wrench.
This is my $0 wrench that I found on the side of the road. I think it's a tool that is used for trains. I live in the great state of Tennessee, and there's a lot of fucking trains around here. And
I also hear those things are great at extracting private keys.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, this is definitely my $5 wrench. It's what I use to threaten people.
I love
when
it.
They displease me.
I'm gonna pass it to Bekka and Mark. Thoughts on bear market bullishness, what's being built, people getting their heads down and getting shit done. Either of you can take this one up. Maybe actually let's go to Mark because you're shorter on time actually.
All right, I'll say my piece quick and then drop, and then I don't know. I kind of did. I mean, I feel like yes, it's the bear market. Again, it reveals the signal is what it does. And then you realize who the real ones are, who the ones are serious. Honestly, maybe there were some that were just exploring and they weren't serious. So there's, like I said, it never occurred to me not to, there's so much to learn. There's so many things to read. There are so many videos to watch. I am still learning, and I've been at this for way too long. The idea of slowing down just doesn't even occur to me, and the price just is not the focus for people who take this seriously. And maybe that's just the lesson. And so, yeah, when you see how many people are remaining and you realize how many people aren't motivated by price, they're motivated by something else. It's super bullish, super, super bullish.
Love that. Bekka, how about yourself? Bear market
bullish on the bear market as well, especially considering I came into Bitcoin in the last bear market. So it's I'm excited. Yeah, it's quiet. Maybe I'll spend a little bit less time on Twitter, but probably not.
See, I love when people enter Bitcoin during a bear market, because that means like it wasn't so much a woo of, hey, like number go up. It was like, hey, what of the other qualities of Bitcoin are attracting people at this point? Because right now there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, it's down X% from the all-time high. And so that seems to be less of a drawing effect on newcomers. And so then you get exposed, not only like drawn for other reasons perhaps, but exposed immediately to the deeper reasons as to why. And so I find Bitcoiners that are born into the darkness,
born into the bear.
Yeah, I was born in it, molded by it. Those ones are the ones that they're not tested whatsoever when it comes to the bull and then the subsequent bear. They've already experienced it. And so yeah, I love that. I'm gonna do, Mark, I know you probably gotta.
I gotta go. You guys are wonderful. Let's do this again. I came in feeling bullish. I'm leaving feeling more bullish. So I'm about to see some people who I'm gonna annoy like terribly. They're gonna be like, "Where did you just come from? You are completely. I cannot handle you right now." So thank you guys for that. But yeah, continue on, please.
Welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Glad to have you here. Everybody else that's watching, we're going to do a quick round of final thoughts from everybody else, myself included. And I've got a challenge for the remaining between Bekka and P. I'm going to give final thoughts, but then I'm also going to give a recommendation of a piece of content. And for yourselves, it can be something that you valued at some point during your Bitcoin journey, a book, an article, a video or podcast, whatever it may be, something that you found useful in your learning journey about any aspect of Bitcoin or a topic that's tangential to Bitcoin, whatever it may be. So with that, for my final thoughts, since we touched on, and since Mark isn't here to touch on Lightning further as a final thought, I will just say, if you're not exposed to it yet, it's definitely time to take a peek. And so what might those first steps look like? First is just get a Bitcoin wallet on your phone. And I don't care which one it is. I have some preferences. I think that Moon wallet that has been mentioned in this episode quite a bit, MUUN, is an excellent wallet. I have a full tutorial on that one. And the reason I find that one so useful, again, is it's just a single balance. It doesn't differentiate between on-chain Bitcoin and Lightning. So very quickly, you can send Bitcoin into it as a regular transaction, and then you can start interacting with other Lightning wallets. So that's worth a check. Blue Wallet is custodial, but it'll give you some practice there. Zebedee wallet, because of the Lightning addresses. There's a variety that you can try. Breeze wallet is one that we did not mention, but worth checking out. BREEZ. I got a video on that as well. But there's a ton to try. And if you're already semi-familiar with Lightning, but you want to take that deep dive and get a little bit deeper, then it's time to play with a node. It's time to set one up. And you can do that. I would, for ease of use, Umbrel is super simple. My node is great. I have not played with Start 9 yet, but I will soon. But again, for a quick plug and play, and I should also give a shout out to Run Citadel, which is a fork of Umbral. I know this is like contentious with those guys.
Yeah, there's not enough peer review on that one.
Yeah, but it's a fork of Umbral, so another option that's out there. And it's at that fork was in and around licensing and stuff like that. So I won't go deep into that, but nonetheless, it's worth mentioning. There's a lot of options out there. I'm currently using Umbral, but I do have a Ronin Dojo running in the background right there. You can't see it because it's too dark, black. But anyways, it's sitting beside my Umbral node.
Oh, shit,
And I will soon have Start 9 going too. Anyways, run a node. Start down that learning path and then just start learning about like what is a channel? How's it work? You know, what happens if I, spend all my Bitcoin from that channel? Just start learning those basics. And even if you don't use it long term, the learning curve of that and understanding what's happening with Bitcoin in the background in Lightning will be great for you, in my opinion. So in terms of, that's my final thoughts. In terms of pieces of content, I'm going to give a throwback to something we talked about earlier. Jeff Booth, The Price of Tomorrow, is just such a great read. It's such a fantastic booth. And to follow up that, there's an article from Jeff Booth called The Greatest Game. So the book, The Price of Tomorrow, is more of like an economic overview of what's happening in the world right now. And basically an explanation of why Clown World exists, to Bekka's earlier topic. It is when you read it, you realize of course Clown World exists. How could it not under the circumstances now that I understand what's happening? He doesn't talk about Bitcoin a lot in the book. He mentions it in like one of the last chapters. Excuse my camera going out for a second here, but he talks about it in one of the last chapters, briefly. The follow-up to his book, I would consider to be his article, The Greatest Game. And that's where he outlines his case for Bitcoin moving forward and where Bitcoin's place is in kind of this framework, this clown world that we've devolved into because of fiat currency. So that's where I'm at. Those are my recommendations. Jeff Booth, The Price of Tomorrow, and Jeff Booth, the article, The Greatest Game, after you read his book. I'll leave that there. I'm gonna hop to Bekka first. Do you have any final thoughts on the episode today? Anything that you wanted to get off your chest before recommending anything you think is useful?
Yeah, final thoughts. I hope everyone enjoyed their sandwiches today. And just leave me a review if there was, too much ketchup or mustard or anything like that. I'd really like to know so I can improve for next time. But no, in general, yeah, super bullish, awesome panel. I'm very excited. Definitely, I need to get down and jump into the Lightning rabbit hole. So I want to thank you guys for, kind of pushing me a little bit further. So yeah, I mean, overall super bullish and content to recommend. Like for me, I used to do, like, I was driving a lot. So I was listening to a ton of podcasts and I found like Guy Swan, like I love Bitcoin Audible. So great. He, all the articles that he's always reading, it was a nice, easy way for me to kind of keep up to date with what's going on in the community. And some of the last articles that really stood out was like the Bitcoin is Venice. And I think Brandon's article, Bitcoin and like psychedelics or mushrooms, like that one was really, really good. So definitely recommend checking out Guy Swan. And then also, the great and awesome content the Meme Factory puts out. So
obviously, I think some of them are in the comments. Somebody wants to know if there's any other rabbit holes you've gone down.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks for that. And we'll rotate one last time to P. Dude, any final thoughts on today and recommendations you might have?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when talking about Lightning, I was talking about PlebNet and we were talking about running nodes. I think it is important to restate that, like, when we talk about running nodes, we're talking about like being the infrastructure operators. Like I'm an insane person. Like I have like all sorts of crazy shit going on all the time. I have like multiple computers laid everywhere. You don't need to be that person if you want to run a Lightning node. You can interact with the Lightning Network as an individual on your phone immediately right now today. You can send Bitcoin for free, or essentially for free, for like, fractions of a cent today, right now. So there's like, I think of it, there's many gray areas, but I think of there being like three broad categories of people that interact with the Lightning Network. There's insane people like myself and like a lot of the people in PlebNet who are like, we want to create and understand deeply the infrastructure of the Lightning Network. We are going to be the telecom operators. We're running nodes. We're figuring it out. We're playing these like strategic games with each other and trying to basically, outsmart each other in terms of the fee structures. Then there's people who are running businesses. And they're like, yeah, I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want to be able to have instant transactions where I can't be fucked with as a business person. So nobody can come back and be like, oh, I want to contest this credit card transaction because I'm fucking with you and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're that person, you don't need to worry about a node. You can use something like Breeze Wallet right now today. You can go. They have an incredible POS system, point of service system, where you can literally just go in, open Breeze Wallet, and be like, you owe me this many sats. And then you turn your phone around, they scan it, and they can send you those sats. Then there's like people who are just like, I just want to be able to send people sats on Lightning. And you can do that with Breeze. You can do that with Moon Wallet. You can do that with Blue Wallet. You can do that with any of the other systems we've talked about. Strike, Cash App, all these systems support Lightning. So I think it's important to say that you don't have to be like a deeply technical person or even care about any of this to benefit from what Lightning provides, which is essentially instantaneous payments for essentially zero fees. And that's super important. Other than that, I will say BTC Sessions, thank you for having me on. I don't think you are a very humble person. And I think it is important to acknowledge the massive positive impact that you personally have had on the Bitcoin space in producing this educational content, which comes from a place of, hey, I'm figuring this out with you in real time while still having like super high production value and being very, very approachable. And I think that cannot be understated. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being part of the community and putting so much effort.
I appreciate that. Very kind words. I don't know what I want to do first. Really quick, do you have any recommendations for content for people to check out?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that part of it.
All good.
I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. I think that for me personally, a lot of the ideas that I've had as I have grown, hatching out of an egg, a golden egg, in New York, and then the egg was carried to Northern California, which is where I spent most of my formative years. I spent a lot of time reading sci-fi, and that has informed who I am. I think that Paolo Bacigalupi is an incredible author. Nothing to do with Bitcoin directly, but I would highly recommend. People love talking about the Mandibles, which is a fictional account, which we are all headed towards, of what it is like, what it might be like to experience hyperinflation in the United States. Paolo Bacigalupi is a science fiction author who is not into Bitcoin as far as I know, but has written books such as The Wind-Up Girl, The Water Knife, and The Drowned Cities. I would highly recommend that anyone who is interested in Bitcoin start with The Drowned Cities. It takes place in a near future world that is where I believe we would be headed if not for Bitcoin. And I think there is a lot that can be learned from that noble. The water knife takes place in Texas, and it's in a world where water is the ultimate commodity, and we will have to deal with that in the near future as well.
This is interesting. This sounds up my alley. Maybe I'll grab this before I go traveling tomorrow. We'll see.
I cannot recommend it enough.
Awesome. I love it. P, thank you for that. There was one quick question from, a comment rather. Yellow wanted to say that P with that mustache be like, Mama, just run a node, put a sats on my channel. Awesome. I love it. Yellow, thank you for that. We got some Queen vibes going on. I love it.
Oh, wait. Can I say one other thing?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to thank Chairforce. This is his hat that I'm wearing right now. Both Chairforce and I have autism. It's an affliction. And he was kind enough to airmail me this hat today so that I could wear it during this podcast. And it means a lot to me. I want to represent.
I can't see what it says. Hold on.
It says, please be patient. I have autism.
There it is. Perfect. It's beautiful. I gave you the solo. I enjoy that. It's a great hat, man. Shout out Chairforce. Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was an awesome, again, always awesome to speak with Bitcoiners. And today was no exception. And all your topics were fantastic. And we got down some good rabbit holes here. And hopefully people in the audience enjoyed it too. Everybody seemed to stick around. So yeah, that says something. So thank you guys very much. And of course, you guys are welcome back anytime. So yeah, have a great weekend, guys.
You as well. Thank you so
much. Thanks, and you rock. Cheers.
All right. I'm going to kill your audio video now. I'll do my outro, but good to see you guys. Everybody's still watching. Dab. Everybody's still watching. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, always the best part of my week. I get to chill out, hang with awesome Bitcoiners, and just chat about what's exciting. And there's always something exciting in Bitcoin. So I appreciate all of you that were in the chat coming on this Friday journey with us. As always, please do like, subscribe, share. All those things are super important. They really do help the show. If you want to help the show in another way, you can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below. Shakepay, LEDN, Bitrefill, Keystone, BillFodl. They're all down below. You can click the links there. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a Bitcoin tip at my Strike page, strike.me/BTC sessions. When you get there, you can type in any amount you like, hit the tip button. You'll be greeted with a Lightning invoice. But if you're not down that rabbit hole yet, tap to the right and you'll be greeted with a regular Bitcoin QR code. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. See you guys next time for your daily session.
Hodl the Bitcoin.